Welcome everyone in Nigeria and the rest of the world. This is State of the Nation. I am Gimba Umar. Right behind me, data feeds are still coming through on all our social media platforms in one place. Simultaneously be part of the show, tweet at Gimba Umar CTV and use the hashtag State of the Nation. Now let's throw back earlier in the year on April 18. A bill for an act to amend the Electric Power Sector Reforms Act to prohibit and criminalize estimated billing by electricity distribution companies and provide for compulsory installation of prepaid meters to all power consumers in Nigeria and other related matters still awaits the passage by the lower chamber. Sponsored by the Leader of the House, Honorable Femi Gbajabiamila. The proposed legislation has consequential order criminalizing such billing methods, which many Nigerians consider as extortion, given the electricity distribution companies, the DISCOs, discretion to unilaterally determine the estimation of electricity bills to be paid by consumers in an event that such consumers does not have prepaid meters. Should the bill stand or be set aside is the question many are asking. Joining me to analyze this further is Sunday Oduton, the Executive Director, Research and Advocacy Association of Nigerian Electricity Distributors, ANED. He is a lawyer as well. I want to thank you so much indeed for coming on State of the Nation at this time. Basically, this bill is proposing a better metering for everyone. Do you see it as a problem?
It's a major problem.
How?
The bill is not proposing a major metering. The bill will, in actual fact, add to the problem that we currently have. But let me start by saying that we understand that the legislators need to address a major problem that their constituents have, the issue of excessive billing, or what people call crazy billing. So for them, they are trying to provide relief, but in doing so, they have taken a turn that is absolutely a wrong turn, and I'll come to that. But let me also say that we do not take our customers for granted. And I do apologize to numerous Nigerians, all our customers, for all the pains brought about by these excessive billings, which happen sometimes.
So you admit that there's been excessive billings? There
are, because the system, the way it is done, we have what we call overbilling and underbilling. Those who are underbilled will never complain, so we don't get to hear about those. Those who consider that they've been overbilled complain. But again, we don't always get it right. That's why I'm apologizing. And I'm saying that comprehensive metering is indeed the desire of the DISCOs. It is in our interest to meter our customers. When we meter our customers, we're able to measure what they use. It reduces a lot of problems. In fact, it helps us a lot because up to about 40% of our collection efficiency comes through when you have people with meters. But the issue of metering, again, we have to look at where we're coming from. The issue of metering, as dated, the problem with metering in Nigeria has gone as far back as 1951, during the time of ECN. There has been a lot of metering gap, the huge gap. By the time the entities were privatized in November 2013, we had more than 4 million households without meters, that metering gap. And to meter the whole of this number of people requires a lot.
4 million people.
Over 4 million, yes. So what that means is that we need to close the gap, but there are also new houses being built. There are new customers coming on board as well. And today, the 11 DISCOs that we have, number one, there's no way you can find 4 million meters on the shelf. They have to be manufactured. Number two, there's no way the DISCOs can do more than 20,000 per month each, assuming we even have the money for the 4 million meters, and those things can start now.
But isn't that the reason why the Minister of Power and Works has said that we must begin to look at the possibility of having inclusion of private sector participation and having meeting up those gaps?
Let me even say this, in fairness. The federal government around 2001 sought to address this metering gap when they started what was called National Prepaid Metering Program, which failed. It failed because of corruption. It failed because of lack of coordination. It failed because of inefficiency. That was then. Now, what the regulator has done now, the MAP program, that meter asset program is a good thing that will fill the gap and quickly increase the number of metered customers. So that is what is happening now. And it's only a matter of time. The gap will begin to bridge the gap. But we also need to understand the figures. When the DISCOs came on board, the privatization in 2013, November 1, all the DISCOs were required to provide 1.7 million meters in 5 years. 1.7 million in 5 years. Even at that, if you want to fill the 4 million gap, over 4 million gap, to even get to do that is a major problem. One, you look at the costs, and for instance, at an average of 73,000 naira per 3-phase meter. When you look at all of that, 1.7 million meters, you will need to spend 124 billion naira.
Which you don't have.
And that 124 billion
naira.
Which
the DISCOs don't have.
Yes. So you need to look at the tariff. You need to understand how this thing comes into the computation of the tariff. And I will explain. For the 11 DISCOs, right, over a 5-year period, the tariff allow for a total of 305 billion naira. That's what we call allowable capex. What you're allowed to spend on all capital expenditure.
That's for the capex.
Metering, transformer.
Is that for the capex?
Yes, that's the whole lot. Okay, but if you look at the 1.7 meter alone, that's 40% of that money. But if you look at the whole 4 million meter, that means that's 98% of the whole capex, which means for you to be able to do all of that, then there's a need to allow for more capex, and that alone again means there'll be an increase in tariffs. So when you look at all of that, then you have to get the mathematics right. But like I'm saying, what the federal government is doing now, what the regulator has just started, is a way towards solving the problem. But I'm saying that there's no magic, no technology anywhere in the world. I'm talking about estimated billing. Even in the United States, they do estimate bills. We have most countries of the world. In Africa, mention Ghana, Senegal, Egypt, Kenya, Uganda, same thing. In Europe, the same thing. Belgium, and so many countries.
Isn't the metering system of the government proposed by the government, isn't it meant to do away with the estimated billings?
Of course.
And some people have complained largely that they are being shortchanged.
That MAP regulation is meant to deal with that issue. And I'm saying that it will deal with the issue over time. There's no way that can be done overnight. So if you go ahead and criminalize estimated billing, then it has a lot of implication. Because number one, it means that we cannot estimate any customer. If we cannot estimate you, then that means there has to be a wholesale disconnection of people without meters.
That's operational, yes. Is it commercial implications?
Yes, both operational and commercial. Number one, if you're coming into the system and there's no meter, and it's a crime for me to put you in the system, then I have to exclude you. That to me will not serve the nation well. That to me will not even serve us as an industry. It will not serve us well. What we need to do is to look at how to mitigate the problem while the meter rollout is getting more and more increased over time. So part of what we need to do, because for now already, we do some things already. Number one, the estimated billing methodology was given to us by our regulator. And that methodology allows even our customer to contest their bills. Even some DISCOs, as I speak, they are installing what we call check meters. That's a temporary way of measuring people's load so that the issue of contention about billing can be reduced. But even at that, what we are saying, and some DISCOs already incorporate what we call manual energy audit. They go to people's homes to do a kind of energy audit of what they use.
Do you think that the people of this country are more in tune with accepting the prepaid metering system or sticking with the estimated billing?
Anywhere in the world, for us in Nigeria and for us as DISCOs, we prefer giving our people meters. And even when you talk about meters, it's something I need to correct here. When you talk about meters are not just about prepaid meters alone. That's a preference. A lot of people may want that. A lot of people may also want smart meters that are actually postpaid. So you don't even enact a law that only say only prepaid meters can be in the system. Even for the people who already have meters, some are faulty meters that needed to be replaced, some are obsolete meters that needed to be replaced. So what we're saying is we're even champions of metering because we know that metering is the only way forward, and that is being done. But what we are saying is that what we should do is to cooperate with the federal government and our regulator to ensure that the MAP program takes off very well, and then people can start having their meters. People will pay for their meters, and then they'll get their meters from what the government is planning now. That is different from this attempt to now change the law, which will create quite a lot of problems. And of course, eventually darkness looms, because there's no way this can come on board and to not have a lot of implications.
Talk to us about the CAPEX and the OPEX as provided by MITO, I believe, in 2015.
Yes.
That agreement, where does it stand today? Okay.
The allowable CAPEX in the MITO 2015, there's something called under recovery, and we call it sculpting. The CAPEX, the tariff was sculpted to allow for a situation whereby there will not be tariff shock. So you under recover initially in the first 2-3 years and over recover later. That system is on. But the problem we have, number one, is that the allowable CAPEX is too low to cope with the myriad of problems that we have on the ground. The second issue, of course, is the issue of the liquidity crisis. All the discos carry on their books huge deficit, and with those shortfalls, there's no way we can approach any lender for any kind of financing, even as of now. Even the meter manufacturers, we need a situation whereby the government can allow them, like get the central bank to give them loans on a single digit.
I'm afraid that
so those are the kind of things that is going on.
I'm afraid that that's where we're going to have to let it rest. I want to thank you so much indeed for talking to us, the Executive Director, Research and Advocacy Association of Nigerian Electricity Distributors, and Mr. Sunday Oduton.
Thank you very much.
When we return, another bill, the Not Too Young to Run bill, becomes law. Join us again.